Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon and my partner over here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we're going to be discussing Baby Emmanuel Haro. The murder investigation. Is online sleuths versus law enforcement, are they interfering with this investigation? We're going to ask you, the live audience, and we're going to give you our opinion because naturally we talk about this a lot. In previous investigations, we rely as detectives, investigators, we rely on not only our investigative skills, but you, the public. We rely on tips from the public. We can't close a lot of our cases without help from good citizens like you, and that includes the online community. So this is a double-edged sword here. Ed, I want to get your thoughts on it. A lot of this has been going on, and before we get into it, we want to send our prayers to the victims' families from the shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It weighs heavy on our hearts, and that was one of the reasons we didn't go live last night, because this was breaking as well yesterday. This happened yesterday, this press conference. They talked about the charges against Jake and the monster mom, Rebecca, but we held off on going live. But Ed, I wanted to get your thoughts on the online sleuthing and perhaps the fireworks. It looked like the sheriff from one of the counties, Riverside County, Sheriff Chad Bianco, was really harsh, calling internet sleuths keyboard warriors and so forth. Ed, your thoughts on that?
Well, many of the true crime community's hearts are in the right place, but the application of what they're doing is causing a problem in our community. Just because you can do something, again, doesn't mean you should do something. I feel like, some of the same conversations I've had with my kids about how actions have ramifications, right? And, think before you do. It's getting to the point where it's causing problems in the investigation, and it's taking manpower away from the investigation to deal with the sideshow,
right?
Okay, not the main event. You have to understand, where, like Clint Eastwood said in his movie, man has to know his limitation, and women too have to know our limitations. You have to know when you are impacting negatively into an actual crime that's being investigated by law enforcement, okay? And you have to stop before you go too far. Whether that's, freelancing, going out to crime scenes, or going out to areas and searching people's property without permission, or trespassing because you're searching for a missing kid, or and then if you come across something you think is evidence, do not approach, do not touch, look where you are, make sure where you're traversing, you're not destroying other types of evidence that you may not be aware that you're doing this. Never touch anything. Call the police. But remember, the police get paid to do this, and that is their sworn responsibility.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you, Ed. And we've heard these conversations. We've had these conversations over and over again. A great percentage of the listening audience and people out there in the true crime genre, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, they have their hearts are in the right place. I'm saying most of the online sleuths have their hearts in the right direction and in the right place. But there's that fine line that you walk. These guys here, and I'm going to put them up on the screen, the sheriffs from both counties, they're trying to bring justice for a little baby boy, Emmanuel. And, emotions run high, not just for us as regular lay people, the people, we're retired detectives, but right now we're just like everybody else. The only difference is we did this job. But these active detectives and these sheriffs, by the way, are not investigating the case. They're not out there. The detectives. He said it in the press conference that there's a Detective Sergeant Nicholas Clark, who's the lead detective. So these executives that are giving this press conference, they're not investigating this case. They're supervising it. They're overlooking it. But again, the investigators have children, most of them, and they're as mad as hell as we are, but they have to be professional about it. They want to close these cases. And when they're getting patrol is getting calls for fights outside of the location. We saw it out in front of the Haro residence, out in front of Jake and Rebecca's residence. There was, online streamers having fights with each other, and that causes public alarm. That causes the police to have to be called and come out there. So, we could go to many other cases where this happens, and it takes resources that could be, patrol officers in uniform could be securing a possible scene where maybe there's evidence there, or maybe there's baby Emmanuel's remains, and they need these folks to be, the resources don't need to be coming and breaking up fights. So I think emotions were running high at this press conference. These guys were saying stuff that they've been holding in, maybe extra work that they're having to do because of false leads or false information. So let's take a listen to some of this. I sped it up a little bit, but Ed, I mean, look, for the folks who are just joining, Ed Wallace is a crime scene and evidence collection expert. He worked in the New York City Police Department and has processed over 2,700 crime scenes during the course of his career. So, and he worked in the DNA lab, and he knows about all of the science that goes into this. But most important, evidence preservation. If you screw that up, there's no do-overs, right, Ed?
That's correct. Yeah. There's no correcting alterations and mistakes to evidence made in the field in the laboratory. We have a saying, say it over and over: garbage in, garbage out.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? Look, I was listening to this press conference just like everybody else was, and I wasn't expecting this to happen. To be honest with you, I was surprised by this, but I wasn't shocked that this happened because we've seen this in other cases. But let's take a listen. I sped this up. Thank you to Kristen for editing this. I put the closed captions on, and we'll speed this up and we'll take a listen to what they had to say. And Ed and I will break down some of this stuff.
Mike, to Mike's point, I want to thank all of you in the media for covering this, specifically the parents' initial statements to the public while we were trying to find Emmanuel. They became critical as we continued through this investigation.
So this is the sheriff of Riverside County. Strike that. This is the sheriff of San Bernardino County sheriffs. He said there that the news media was helpful because they recorded Jake and Rebecca lying and talking about a ruse, talking about that her child was abducted and she was socked in the face or knocked out unconscious, and what she gave them on video to the news, to the media, was instrumental in them putting together that her story was bullshit. So again, kudos to the news media, and we say it all the time, Ed. Sometimes the news media could be our best friends and our worst enemies, right?
Well, you see how he worded it. Thank you for recording their misstatements.
Right. Yes. So a lot of people maybe skipped over that or didn't catch on to it. He thanked the media and said, hey, look, without this information recorded, it might have been more difficult for us to prove or show in our investigation that she was lying. And it was based on excellent detective work. And they did a great job at getting all of the camera footage and all of the statements that they got, and various canvases for video and so forth. So let's listen.
But I want to talk about a little bit about the process, because we've seen a number of questions related to Amber Alerts and things like that. So I hope when I finish this that everybody understands kind of the course of the investigation. But the investigation started for us on August 14th when Rebecca Haro reported that her son had been kidnapped. Folks, within 24 hours through video surveillance, we found inconsistencies in Rebecca's statement. And as a result of that, there was no other vehicle to put out on an Amber Alert or anything. And I know many of you were wondering why that didn't occur. But really, after finding out those inconsistencies in the statement on the initial report, that's where hundreds of hours of investigations have come in by our specialized investigations division to try to get to the bottom of what's really going on here. And when I say hundreds of hours, I'm talking about forensic data on vehicles, phones, and potential crime scenes, judicial authorized search warrants that were served. And through that process, that's where we learned that the jurisdiction of where this has occurred was in Riverside County. So hence the Riverside County DA and Riverside County Sheriff's Department, which I can't stress enough. We've had a long-term partnership. We work well together, and we know how to get things done in these environments. But that's why the jurisdiction had changed from the original jurisdiction that was reported in, which is Yucaipa, California. But as we went through that portion of the investigation and realized that these things that had happened in Riverside County, you saw the culmination of all the different entities get involved. And going back to what
Ed, he also makes mention about the forensic crime lab that was recently started, and how this played an instrumental part in scrubbing the electronics. So their forensic electronic crime lab, I forgot how they made reference to it, but it was a new unit that they started in April, and that's San Bernardino. And I think that's one of the primary reasons the detectives are the primary, even though he's stating here that the crime happened in Riverside County. But the lead detective is Sergeant Nicholas Clark from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. And there's probably good reason for that, because that they have all the forensic tools to get the job done. Let me fast forward, okay, because a lot of people in the chat are making mention of TikTok, Amed Bioso. I was put on to him by you guys, so I've watched his stuff, and he has been boots on the ground and out there. And from what you guys are all telling me, essentially, he was here at this press conference and he asked a question. And the question was something like, hey, could you tell me if you guys already know where baby Emmanuel's remains are, so I could get some rest, so I could stop searching? Because he's been out and searching. Okay. He also was out in front of the house, and there was some kind of, I don't know, dispute with the neighbor next door, was yelling at him. I saw that footage because somebody shared it with me. But shout out to Amed Bioso, because he's a cancer survivor and he has overcome adversity in his life. He was in prison. He admits it on his TikTok, and he fought drug addiction. So he's had many obstacles that he has beaten. But the main thing that I really got connected to him with is when he talked about his cancer and bone marrow transplants and transfusions that he shows on his TikTok. So because I am, in the middle of that cancer battle, and Ed, you have fought it and you continue to fight it, I have deep respect for him. But, if you're doing this and you're a first time, or you haven't done something this serious where it's a murder investigation of a little child, there's some do's and don'ts. And he had, by his own admittance, he also said, hey, look, maybe I might have overstepped. But I love the heart that this guy has, and I think his heart was in the right direction. But being outside in the middle of the night off of that Interstate 60, going into one of those tunnels, I saw some of those videos. I was cringing because I thought he was going to get attacked by a mountain lion or some, a snake, a rattlesnake. You don't go out with no flashlight in the middle of the night into these locations. There's many creepy crawlers and different, indigent wildlife that can consume you and kill you. Right, Ed?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So I think at the 16-minute point in this video, the DA is talking here. I'm going to scroll to it. Amed asks a question, and like his soul was crushed here because he felt like they really told him to go home and go to sleep, and it really was hurtful to him. But at the same time, I think he was man enough to understand after he was so pissed off. He understood that, like, hey, I'm just going to if I get leads, I'll call them in. If people send me leads, I'll call them in. And I think that's probably the best bet. He fell down outside the house and passed out because he was running around to try to get information and so forth when they were making the arrest. So the two of them were arrested. He exerted himself, and because he's getting chemotherapy and radiation, he fell and passed out. So, I mean, that's the dedication that he had there. Let's listen to this. This is Amed Bioso asking a question at this press conference.
Hold on, I'm going to exhaust. Yes, sir.
Sir, forgive me. Amed Bioso on the DutyRon. I've been working this case diligently. I have a two-part question.
One question, sir. One question.
One question. Thank you. Since you said that you do know where the remains are, can you?
I didn't say that, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
I didn't say I know where the remains are.
Can you tell us, in fact, a little bit more detail so that if you do know anything, so I can stop looking? Please? Because I'm in this every day. No disrespect. Trust me. I understand who you are. But can you please, if you have information here where you know something, can you please, so I could get some rest?
Well, you should get some rest, sir.
Thank you.
You should get some rest. But no, I can't share with you anything.
That's fine.
Look, there are professionals that are looking for the remains of this child. If the public has any information, then we ask for their help. So we don't know exactly where the remains are. We have some ideas in terms of where we're going to look and where we're going to continue to investigate. Yes, sir, all the way in the back.
Can you please elaborate?
So that was the exchange. He basically, Amed Bioso, asked the district attorney, if you guys know where his remains are, I'll stop looking. And he basically said to him, stop looking. We got this. Ed, I know this is probably the first time you saw that, or did you see?
No, I've seen it before.
Right. Your thoughts on it, Ed, from a crime scene unit detective's perspective?
As I said, many of the true crime community's hearts are in the right place, but they're not trained to do this. They're not trained to conduct searches. They're typically not prepared to deal with and encounter indigenous wildlife. Okay. A lot of times they may not even realize this, but they may be trespassing on somebody's property when they're conducting these searches. In addition, I've seen true crimers out there finding stuff and then touching it and moving it and altering it and depositing their fingerprints and DNA on potential evidence. And it's cringeworthy that I'm watching this and some of the people that did this, and then I'm not going to even mention any names, but some of the people that did this should know better.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I saw it too, Ed. Listen, there's people in the chat saying most police ask for help. All police ask for help. We always want, if the public sees something, call in the tips. They encourage it.
Yes, but most of the help that they're asking for is information, not, and then sometimes they'll ask for volunteers to conduct searches, which they will organize, and you will come down and be credentialed, and then you would get just-in-time training, and they'll put you out in a line search in a field somewhere with law enforcement, and the law enforcement will direct you, not freelancing and going about willy-nilly throughout some property or so forth by yourself.
The last thing we want to do, or anybody that's, a citizen or, a good Samaritan, the last thing you want to do is screw up any evidence. So it's important. And I think that, through our channel, we have continued to educate people. If you're in an area where a crime happened, then you're out or just out and about looking around, and you see something in a trash can that doesn't look right, or you see something in a field that you suspect might be something pertaining to the investigation, 911, stand back, call 911. Don't go and kick it around or dig at it or try to manipulate the item. Just let the police come and let them do their job and check it out.
If you want, and you have some distance between you and the items that you may have uncovered,
take a picture.
Take a phone out and zoom in and take a photograph. Okay. And then take a long range photograph to show in context where these things are, and, call the police and say, hey, this may be relevant to your case, and this is what I'm seeing, and this is where it is, and have them come out and look at it.
Right. Yeah. So, again, I'm not in a sense here. I feel like the sheriff from the Riverside County, Sheriff Chad Bianco, he came off kind of harsh. So did the district attorney. Not so much the San Bernardino County sheriff, because all he was complimentary to the media, but they made statements like the bona fide media, and they talked about social media, how toxic it is and how unhelpful it is. And I beg to differ, because there's many people from social media that take pictures of bad guys and girls, or get tips and leads and call police and get the police there and make arrests. Look, I see some of these people who call these child pedos, and they set up meetings with these pedos, and the pedos think that they're coming to meet a 13-year-old boy or girl, and they get the police and they come and arrest them. I think it's dangerous, but they do that. And they do it in Florida. They do it in all different states. And those videos are all online, and they're doing that on a regular basis. And yes, they're taking nasty people off the street. These are lowest of low. But, we're talking about an investigation for a 7-month-old baby who was murdered at the hands of their parents over over probably his entire life. This district attorney said over many, many months that Jake Haro was abusing this child physically. So again, I want to play this, because this has to do with mainstream media. And you know what? Look, I'll be the one to do it. Our good friend Brian Enton, he had sources, and he posted on not only his personal YouTube, but also on News Nation. They covered it, and they said that there was a Perkins operation where it could have been an undercover sheriff, or it could have been an inmate in the county jail, went and interviewed, or not interviewed, extracted information and confessions from Jake Haro and talked to Jessica, and she stuck to the story and said, no, I was hit over the head. My baby was abducted. Same thing with the California news outlet. I don't know the names, but they went and interviewed both of them. Jake didn't say anything, said my attorney said, not to talk about that. But Jessica stuck to the story. These two are liars. Anything that comes out of their mouths is not believable. But here's the DA getting a question from a reporter about this alleged confession. And he outright says it didn't happen. And I don't know about you in the audience, and I know about me and Ed. I believe the district attorney. There's no upside to him lying, because a defense attorney at trial can say, if in fact that Perkins operation happened, and he's now lying at a press conference, the defense attorney for Jake Haro can say, you told the world that we didn't do it. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not true. So let's listen to him here.
Let me go. I've already called on you. So have I called on you already? No, go ahead, please.
Jillian Smuckler with KTLA 5 News. We're hearing some reports of a confession made in jail regarding Jake Haro. Obviously, you're limited in what you can say, but is there any validity to some of those rumors? And what have you heard from Rebecca in jail?
I can tell you that that's not true. It's there's no confession made in jail.
Can you tell us how many kids Jake and Rebecca had were in their home at the time of the arrest? We know a 2-year-old was taken. We saw CPS.
That's all I can say. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think the obvious question is, what happened then? I mean, we did hear those reports. My coworker just asked about the jail confession. You their authorities used fake inmate to get information, and the father confessed that he.
Well, see, that's not true. So I don't know where you. Well, no. See, this is what happens when you've got all these folks out there online and these keyboard warriors. You get a lot of misinformation, and what you just said is not true. It's misinformation. So that's what I'll tell you did not happen.
Okay, but
Okay.
you didn't say what. There's no information as to.
I can't talk about the facts of the case. Well, no, I'm giving you information about Baby Emmanuel. I'm giving you information about the cases and the investigation, but what you just said did not happen. So,
Okay. So again, Barbara George says Brian at Internet News Nation said he has a reliable source. And look, I don't know how strongly I could say this. I love Brian Enton. He's my friend. I have his cell phone number in my phone. I continually go to him and talk to him, and I love the work he does. But here, I don't know how better we could tell you this, but he said it twice. He was asked by the same reporter 2 different times about the inmate or fake inmate or undercover Perkins operation, and he said it didn't happen. I don't care what his sources are. I still love the guy. I still subscribe to him. He's my friend, but his sources were wrong, according to the district attorney of Riverside County. I don't think that the Riverside County district attorney on 2 different occasions at a press conference is going to lie about that. You let me know what you think in the chat.
No, there's no upside to lying.
Right. I mean, Ed, you're the voice of reason. Again, we talked about this, and this is not a bashing of Brian Enton. Again, like I said, this is not a bashing, but that source that he has, and he's doubled down on it. Brian has doubled down on it and said, I still stick by my source. And that's all good and well. It could be someone from within the police department there that's telling him that. But that guy or girl or whoever's giving you that info is giving you the wrong information. This district attorney is who's responsible for trying the case. Do you think he's going to get up there on the stand at a press conference and tell news reporters that didn't happen when it did? There's just no way. There's no way. And it's not playing with words. See, everybody's looking to try to justify this. He's not playing with words. He was asked, go back and listen to how we played this. I even put the subtitles up. He was asked straight out, did somebody go into the jail, an undercover prisoner or an officer? And he said, absolutely not. So
He said there is no confession.
yeah. I mean, again, I'll play it just one more time.
That's all I can say. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think the obvious question is, what happened then? I mean, we did hear those reports. My coworker just asked about the jail confession. Their authorities used fake inmate to get information, and the father confessed that he.
Well, see, that's not true. So I don't know where you. Well, no. See, this is what happens when you've got all these folks out there online and these keyboard warriors. You get a lot of misinformation, and what you just said is not true. It's misinformation. So that's what I'll tell you.
I don't know how much more we'd have to hear him saying it's not true. It didn't happen. Again, there was a lot that was gleaned from this press conference. He talked about the judge in the 2018 case. It got resolved in 2023. Jake Haro received a slap on the wrist. And this district attorney right here that we see on the screen, Ed, he basically said, look, I'm not attacking the judge's credibility I'm not attacking him personally, but it was a travesty of justice what happened, because Jake Haro should have been in jail. He should have been in prison for what he did to his daughter. She had healing fractures. She had healing tibia fractures. She was 10 weeks old. She had a brain hemorrhage. And then he gets arrested after that slap on the wrist sweetheart deal with a gun. Jake Haro got arrested in 2024 before Baby Emmanuel was murdered by him. He was arrested with a gun in the state of California. Why in God's name was he out when he had ammunition and a loaded gun in his car? Come on, California. You got to do better. What happened with that case? Nobody talks about that case. The gun charge. How did he get out and was able to kill? The blood of Emmanuel is on the prosecutor and the judge, or whoever tried that case, the gun case. Forget about the 2018 case. We know they fucked that up already. But what about this gun case? How come he's out? It's sickening. It's sickening because this baby was failed by his parents first and foremost. The onus is on Rebecca and Jake, but he was failed by the criminal justice system because he should have been locked up, you know? So it's insane. Let's go to the super chats and go to the audience. Just Love Hope, thank you for being a new member. Evie, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. That's very kind of you. Evie323, mom of the history chick. Susie, thank you for being a member for 29 months. She says, thank you for DutyRon and Ed for all you do. D. Klein sends in 5, and he or she says, so they didn't find baby Emmanuel, or did they? They didn't. They didn't. They said that they possibly know where he is. At the end of this live stream, when we close it out, I'll play this this video in its entirety. It's 33 minutes, and you guys could listen to it with the captions on. Whoever wants to hang around and listen to it, we'll play it at the end when Ed has to go back to work. Emily, thank you for the 5. He must have confessed to something if the police had him out in the field. Love you guys. Yeah, he told them, this is where I dumped, or this is where my wife dumped. We don't know. They can't talk about the case. He says it like 50 times in this presser, Ed. We can't talk about the details of the case because we got to try it in court. We can't try it in the court of public opinion, because if we try it here, I won't be able to get a conviction in court. So, yeah, Emily, you're right. Jake had to have said something to him. All right, hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. Please, please, please give us your questions and concerns. Murder and false police reports. Let's listen to this for a minute, and we'll look at the chat. I want to say thank you to the replay viewers, the moderators, the folks who become Patreon supporters, the Buy Me Cups of Coffee, and the members. We love you guys. We thank you. Let's look at the chat.
Agent Nicholas Clark is the lead investigator on this case. So even though he's San Bernardino County, he will be functioning as the lead investigator on this case, which is ongoing. The investigation is ongoing, even though we have filed charges. And then,
by the way, Jeff sent me this text today. I didn't get home from work until about 7 o'clock tonight. So he asked, Ed, can a cadaver dog detect human remains in my predator scatter?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think yes. And even if it was predator scatter from, a week or 2 ago, they'll still be able to smell it. But again, we don't know what happened. We're guessing. We're all guessing that he did in fact dump this body out off the highway or in a different location. But again, this baby is 2 feet long. It's a little teeny baby, 7 months, give or take. It's not a full-size human body. So, a mountain lion could just pick it up, walk off with it. And it's so sad to say this, and bring it several miles away into a lion's den or wherever, somewhere safe where they don't have to share. And
well, trigger alert. It doesn't have to be a lion. I mean, a buzzard can do it too.
Turkey buzzard. Yeah. Dave said to us, he's seen turkey buzzards pick up, dead deer carcass or parts of it. So turkey vultures can, consume a human body in hours, according to Dave Rader. So I don't know if there's wild hogs out there, but this is disturbing. And it looks like the DA is alluding to that this murder took place, I think, between August 5th and the date of the sometime in between in that time. So August 5th to August 14th. All right. Let's go. Yeah, so I agree with this. Painted Black says, hashtag one doesn't have to be a legal scholar to see that the justice system often drops the ball.
Quite often.
What?
Quite often drops the ball.
Yeah, I agree. We hear about this so often. Look, what about Harmony Montgomery? She was given by the state of Massachusetts to a father who had attempted murder charges, many violent arrests. That case haunts me to no end, because the state of New Hampshire and the state of Massachusetts, both of the governors pointed the fingers at each other. You screwed up. No, you screwed up. Nobody wanted to take blame. But they failed Harmony Montgomery. Obviously, her parents, mom and dad, drug habits, they failed her first and foremost. But the people who were the fail safes in place, they failed Harmony Montgomery, and she got murdered and dismembered by her father and brought to many different locations. So sickening, to say the least. So Ed, I want to thank you for taking out 35 minutes of your lunch break. Is this a dinner break? We should call it dinner break.
Yes, that's correct.
We know that you're busy and doing stuff, and when you take out the time, when we did the breaking news with the shooting in Minneapolis, you came on as well on your drive to work or whatever, you were on your way. So appreciate you doing that. Did you see anything in the chat for you, question wise for you, Ed? Because I don't.
Unfortunately, when I'm on the cell phone, I can't see chat.
Okay. All right. So let me scan it quick. Yeah. Sebastian Rogers, law enforcement failure. The Summer Wells, the list goes on and on. I think, if you ask me, Miss, why don't judges get punished for these types of things? This judge should be removed from the bench, in my opinion. He should be fired from his job because he failed. He failed miserably. And this district attorney calls him out. I'm gonna try to find it because Kristen, multi-agency false kidnapping. Where does he mention it? She doesn't have it. Justin says, "Oh, here we go. Preventable."
With both agencies, by saying
Sergeant Nicholas Clark is the lead. One question at a time.
I can't find it. But so the district attorney here goes on to say, and I was proud of Mike that he called out the judge and said, this judge failed miserably. This judge should, in my opinion, should be fired and removed off the bench. Some people say that the judge should get locked up. I don't ever see that happening. But he definitely should not be making decisions anymore. And where's the checks and balances? If we screwed up at our job badly, like a prisoner escaped while we were transporting or whatever, that's a huge hit. We would get in big trouble. I'd lose 30 days, right? 30 vacation days, probably minimum, and maybe get suspended. I don't know. I thought it never happened to me, but this judge makes that ruling and gives this guy a slap on the wrist, and he turns around and kills his next son. So something's really wrong in the situation. I really want to send strength and prayers to all involved in bringing justice for this baby. A lot of work has to be done, and there's a lot of people involved in it. Continue to call in any tips and any information that you have, and look, the title says it all. Online sleuths versus law enforcement. It shouldn't be that way. We, as active law enforcement, not us, we're retired, active law enforcement needs the public's help to solve a lot of the cases, right? We depend on it. And without the help of the public, we sometimes can't get the cases closed, can't get the job done. So keep doing what you're doing and do it with respect. If it's something that's outlandish, that's coming from a psychic medium, that they're having visions and dreams, don't call that in, because it's just, they're not going to investigate that. It's going to bog them down. Ed, here's a question, all caps. Pickle Toes Grandma, thank you for the chat. She says, Ed, what does lye and water do to a body?
Well, lye is a base, right? You have acid, you have neutral and base destroys skin at the molecular level. Okay, it's more damaging to human skin than acid is.
Right. So it will have, and this comes from information that also in this press conference he said was misinformation because somebody brought it up. Let's take a listen to this. I think this is where he talks about the judge.
Been in prison at the time that an outrageous error, as is the judge's right to do, gave Mr. Haro and that came to the courts, arrested in 2018. It came in to the courts in 2023. We had charged various felony crimes, child abuse, child cruelty, and our indication or what we wanted out of the case was prison. We believed it was a prison case and that Jake Haro should have gone to prison. Jake Haro pled straight up to the court, which sometimes reporters get this wrong and you call it a plea bargain. Judges are not allowed to plea bargain. Defendants can plea bargain with the prosecutor, but when a defendant pleads up to the court, they plead to everything that they've been charged with, and they're essentially throwing themselves on the mercy of the court. In this case, a judge here in Riverside County, happened to have been a visiting judge from San Bernardino County, gave Mr. Haro a suspended sentence, which means, if I can translate for you what that is, it means that instead of sending him to prison, he chose to give him probation and suspend prison time sort of over his head, meaning that if he violated his probation, he would then go to prison. My prosecutor in the courtroom objected to that and said on the record, we object. We think it's a prison case. You should send him to prison. And the judge decided, as is the judge's right to do in that case, he decided that Mr. Haro deserved an extra break and gave him probation and basically 180 days of work release, which ends up being like community service. I will say that it was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today. And that's a shame, and it's an outrage.
I think it was important that he said that, and I like that he said that, because most district attorneys, they won't do that because they got to deal with the judges all the time, and you don't hear that often. So kudos to this district attorney, Mike Hestron. So that was a good thing. I'm going to play the full interview here, playing for you guys the facts. The district attorney who's charging this case said there was no Perkins operation, period. He was asked it twice, and that's the fact. So,
all right, Ron, I got to run.
Thanks, Ed. I'll see you soon. Thank you for hanging out. Ed Wallace checking out, folks. All right, here we go. I'm going to play this from the beginning. You could listen to it, or you could step out. It's up to you guys. So this is the full thing. I'll play it on 1.5 speed, and I'll take any questions if there's anybody hanging out.
Have been kidnapped, when in fact that's not what occurred. And they did so in order to case have been charged with crimes, serious crimes. And so now they have a presumption of innocence that applies to them. They're innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I'm not allowed to prove my case in the court of public opinion. And so there's a lot that we can't say in terms of the facts and the evidence for that. However, having said that, it's appropriate to have a press conference because it was the defendants in this case that had a press conference first. And they did so in order to tell the public, the media, and ultimately law enforcement that their child had been kidnapped, when in fact that's not what occurred. And so we're here to clear up some misconceptions and to explain how this case unfolded in terms of the investigation. It involves two counties working very well together. I know everybody up here on this stage, we work well together normally, but in this case, I'm very proud of the work that was done by Riverside County Sheriff, San Bernardino County Sheriff, my office, and also the District Attorney's Office in San Bernardino County. All right, so we'll go ahead and kick this off. I'm going to bring up first San Bernardino County Sheriff Shannon.
Thank you, Mike. To Mike's point, I want to thank all of you in the media for covering this, specifically the parents' initial statements to the public while we were trying to find Emmanuel. They became critical as we continued through this investigation. But I want to talk about a little bit about the process because we've seen a number of questions related to Amber Alerts and things like that. So I hope when I finish this that everybody understands kind of the course of the investigation. But the investigation started for us on August 14th when Rebecca Haro reported that her son had been kidnapped. Folks, within 24 hours through video surveillance, we found inconsistencies in Rebecca's statement. And as a result of that, there was no other vehicle to put out on an Amber Alert or anything. And I know many of you were wondering why that didn't occur. But really,
I also want to say something. Just because the DA in Massachusetts, Mike Morrissey, is not trustworthy and is a piece of shit, doesn't mean that all district attorneys are pieces of shit. So I just want to put that out there to you folks. I see the chat. I see what you guys are saying, but I am not going to just blanket say that every district attorney, because of Morrissey, is a lying piece of shit. So I'm sorry. And if you don't like that, we can agree to disagree. But I trust this district attorney, and I think that they have this young 7-month-old baby's best interest at heart. They want to see justice served. They want these scumbags, monster, evil demons brought to justice.
after finding out those inconsistencies in the statement on the initial report, that's where hundreds of hours of investigations have come in by our specialized investigations division to try to get to the bottom of what's really going on here. And when I say hundreds of hours, I'm talking about forensic data on vehicles, phones, and potential crime scenes, judicial authorized search warrants that were served. And through that process, that's where we learned that the jurisdiction of where this has occurred was in Riverside County. So hence the Riverside County DA and Riverside County Sheriff's Department, which I can't stress enough. We've had a long-term partnership. We work well together and we know how to get things done in these environments. But that's why the jurisdiction had changed from the original jurisdiction that was reported in, which is Yucaipa, California. But as we went through that portion of the investigation and realized that these things had happened in Riverside County, you saw the culmination of all the different entities get involved. And going back to what Mike mentioned about the DA's office in San Bernardino County and high-tech crimes, forensically, there are a number of things that we were able to prove up that we're not going to be able to share today exactly how we did that, but there is a tremendous amount of evidence that suggests that the initial story posed was not the correct story. So in that partnership with our...
Yeah, Tracy, the district attorney would not outright say it didn't happen. He would just say that's part of the investigation and I can't comment on it. But he did not say that. He was asked it twice.
Agencies, I'm going to introduce my partner, Chad Bianco, where this crossover occurred at Riverside, and we reached out to Mike, who's obviously filing the case, and of course, Chad to assist us in the investigation. Chad?
Thank you. Sheriff Dykes, I just want to thank all of you for...
And I want to be clear here, too. I did not like this sheriff's demeanor. Sheriff Bianco was condescending. He did not come across... This is the first time I've ever heard him speak ever in my whole entire life. But my first opinion of this guy was not good. He seemed like a know-it-all, cocky, and he was talking down to the media and he was talking down to social media folks. And the fact of the matter is he's not investigating the case. This guy is a pencil pusher that's behind the desk, and he's not out there pounding the beat. He's not making arrests. He's not out there doing interviews. He is not doing the detective work. This Detective Sergeant Nicholas Clark and his team of detectives are the ones that are doing the hard pounding of the pavement, gumshoe detective work. This guy's tableside manner sucked asshole. 100%. I'll come back on screen with you guys. I thought this guy sucked ass. He is not a guy that will make people feel comfortable. He did his department a disservice by what he said here, and that's why I'm playing it in its entirety. Anybody that had a slither of information that wanted to come to the police to help with this case would look at this and go, I'm not sure. I don't like this guy. So, and he's running for governor of the state of California. Oofa.
Especially the normal mainstream media for your attention to this and for your cooperation in this as we were assisting San Bernardino.
This is where it started. He starts out by saying the normal mainstream media. What the fuck does that mean? Again, look, Rainbow Rabbit Hole says you're wrong about Bianco. I don't know anything about the guy, but I'm saying first impressions are everything, and he sucked here. I don't care what you say about this guy. I don't care if he's helping Riverside and all of this stuff, but he sucked ass at this press conference. That's a fact. Just all you got to do is listen. This was horrible.
In this investigation, trying to originally find a missing baby, but then eventually quickly learning that that investigation was not something that it started as. Not so much for social media and keyboard warriors who, quite honestly, sometimes hamper and prevent us from a good investigation. I do want to expand a little bit about our relationship with San Bernardino. A lot from the media, a lot of questions have been raised about jurisdiction. And what Sheriff Dicus and I routinely talk about to our own communities isn't really necessarily displayed in the media or said to the media, but neither one of us care about jurisdiction. Our belief is that the Inland Empire is better served when we are cooperating and working together. And in this investigation from the very beginning, it was obvious that it could involve
this sheriff and all sheriffs that pretty much run the counties that are elected sheriffs, they're not investigating the cases. They're people who work for them. They're detectives who work for them are the ones who do the cases, not them. He's an executive. His hands aren't getting dirty. Trust me.
Both counties. When something like that happens, particularly in this case, the original investigation began with Sheriff Dicus, and if he chooses to take it to the end, he will, which obviously he did. And my position is Sheriff Dicus is responsible for this and the assistance of my department. So there is no asking us. There is no anything like that. It is, we have to serve our public best, and he has every single available resource that the Riverside County Sheriff's Office has to offer to make sure that
they damn sure do. And that really handcuffs the working detectives and police that are out there making summary arrests on the street. Detectives and cops who make summary arrests with this cashless bail, it's like a revolving door. You commit a crime, you get out. And who ultimately gets affected by this? Who ultimately gets affected? The citizens and little innocent little children, little babies get murdered with this cashless bail and this revolving door system where you can commit a felony and inflict the damages that he inflicted on his 10-week-old daughter, healing and regular fractures to her ribs. He lists it. The district attorney lists it in this press conference. Brain hemorrhages, tibia fractures, and the judge gives him a chance. Who the fuck does that? Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
Provide justice in this case. This is an extensive investigation with both agencies that ultimately is headed by the supervisor of the Detective Bureau from the Sheriff's Office in San Bernardino. But the cooperation, as you can see, between the both counties is what is going to bring this to a successful conclusion. There is absolutely nothing.
I want to just highlight this message right here from Lori G. If TikTokers went into that house, it's because they could. The cops never held the crime scene. But you know what, Lori? I guess you weren't really listening to what we've been saying all along here. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So you don't need a cop to babysit you to go onto a property where there's signs posted that say no trespassing, keep out. Everybody that saw those TikTok lives and any live streams from the front of that house at Jake and Rebecca's home on Ramona Street, anybody that was there saw the keep out trespassing signs. So if you want to be a criminal and go and trespass, shame on you. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So let's get that straight.
Nothing, no crime more important than the injury of a human being, particularly a child. And the amount of resources that were expended to find this baby and to ultimately bring the people to justice responsible for the loss of this baby, I can't even tell you the amount of resources that were expended in this. It is a massive investigation that will obviously be ongoing, and we appreciate your efforts. This involves a lot of things, though, from us, and hopefully there are more questions to be answered, but I'll end it by saying this before we get into more questions specifically about this case. This was preventable in numerous ways. The amount of response we have had from the public, the enormous anger that a child was not only originally thought to be kidnapped, but then presumably murdered, kind of warms my heart a little bit, that there is compassion still out there. There is care about other people. There is, people actually do care about other people. There is absolutely nothing worse than harming a baby, broken bones, injuries, life-altering trauma. And had that case been successfully handled how it should have been, Emmanuel would still be with us today. So I thank you all for taking the time and the effort to make sure that the world sees this investigation, and we will successfully bring it to conclusion with the help of both DA's offices.
And the world is seeing this investigation because of social media, because of YouTube, because of TikTok, because of Instagram, because of Facebook, and because of the national news media.
Thank you, Sheriff. I neglected to mention that Sergeant Nicholas Clark is the lead investigator on this case. So even though he's San Bernardino County, he will be functioning as the lead investigator on this case, which is ongoing. The investigation is ongoing, even though we have filed charges. And then Brandon Smith is going to be the lead prosecutor on the case, obviously Riverside County prosecutor. And with that, obviously, you all know, yesterday in court, we filed murder charges on both Jake and Rebecca Haro. We also filing of a...
Yeah, you know something? Thank you for the super chat, Just D. It shouldn't be that way, because just because you're a judge doesn't mean you're above the law. If you fuck up and you do something that leads to another person's death, that you let out a criminal that should have been behind bars, there has to be some consequences. We all have consequences if we do something wrong. The people from TikTok or whoever it was that trespassed, there should be consequences. Those people should have gotten a trespass. This judge's ruling led to a 7-month-old baby being murdered by the very person that he gave a slap on the wrist to. Shame on you. And look, if I had his name, I'd be blasting it all over my YouTube. So if anybody's got that judge's name, let me know. And we should be writing letters to the courts. We should, at bare minimum, flood the courts, that courthouse that he works in. I know he was visiting from San Bernardino. They should flood that courthouse and demand that judge be removed from the bench. He is a piece of shit.
False police report. And with that, I will take questions. I know you're going to have a lot of questions. I do want to lay some ground rules. The way we do it here is don't shout at me, no chaos, just raise your hand. I ask you to ask me one question at a time. I'll do my best to call on everybody. When we've gotten through everyone who has a question, then we can go back and ask more follow-ups, okay? So I'll start here on the front row. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Stephanie with CNN. My question is, first of all, do you have any idea where baby Emmanuel is at this point?
You know, yes, we have a pretty strong indication of where the remains of Baby Emmanuel are. So that investigation is ongoing at this time.
This is what has everybody twisted, is that she asked him if you know where the remains of Baby Emmanuel are. And he answered yes. Well, if they do, then why aren't they not recovering him? So again, I agree with frustration and confusion. There's the judge's name. Thank you, Just D, for the super chat. Judge George C. Hernandez. Ugh.
We've gotten through everyone who has a question, then we can go back and ask more follow-ups, okay? So I'll start here on the front row. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Stephanie with CNN. My question is, first of all, do you have any idea where baby Emmanuel is at this point?
You know, yes, we have a pretty strong indication of where the remains of Baby Emmanuel are. So that investigation is ongoing at this time. Yes, go ahead.
Matt Johnson, Court TV. What was the information that led to the initial search off the 60 in Moreno Valley?
Sheriff, you want to take that?
I'm not going to go into great detail about that, but
I kind of like this guy. Let me know in the chat what you feel about this sheriff. He's from San Bernardino County, and his name is Shannon Dicus. I believe that's how it's pronounced, Dicus. It's Dicus. I like this guy. He seems gentle. He seems caring. And I don't know anything about either one of these two, but he damn well came off so much better than the Riverside County sheriffs. And look, you could be mad at me all you want. That's the fact of how I'm a career 20-year NYPD detective. I've been in law enforcement and around a lot of sheriffs, executives, captains, chiefs, inspectors, all different ranks, all the way up to the police commissioner. I met the police commissioner in New York City. And I've been around executives like this. They are snooty. They sometimes do feel like they're better than you, a lower ranking. But the way that guy talked, the way the Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco spoke was a big turnoff. And I'm a retired cop. So how do you think that comes across to a regular civilian that's got no policing experience? So
there's some level of cooperation with the suspects involved in this, and we're trying to locate that, and our job is to follow every lead. But for the rest of the room here, we have to understand what you're dealing with is an experienced child abuser that is aware of a previous case, that is aware of evidentiary things that we are certainly concerned with. So we're going to take every step to not only work with any suspect or witness involved in this, because at the end of the day, we have to bring a case to Mike and they have to charge it. And we have to make sure that every single thing, no matter what is told to us or what we discover in terms of evidence, is the right thing and that we follow it up extensively.
You asked yet with Fox 11 News. Do you believe you know how baby Emmanuel died or was killed? And is there anything you can share?
The filing in this case reflects our belief that baby Emmanuel was abused, a victim of child abuse over time, and that eventually, because of that abuse, he succumbed to those injuries. That's what we believe.
So essentially here, to break it down for you, this district attorney, without giving details, said between Jake and Rebecca, during the 7 months of existence, this short-term life existence for this poor infant, baby Emmanuel, that he was a victim of child abuse. that led to his death. It just rips my heart out. It really does. And I understand the emotions that everybody has. But when you hear that, you hear the district attorney, this is the office that's going to be charged with charging this case, say that. It could be a multitude of different things. But they both are being charged with the same crime, murder. It breaks my heart.
Yes, sir.
Eddie with Action Our News. I noticed on the arrest records and the booking records that they do have Jake Haro as murder with malice and also another murder charge as well. Is there a second murderer, or can you explain why there's two booking?
We charged both Jake and Rebecca with murder. Who's next? Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
This is in reference to what Chad was talking about, but can you go into some detail about that case in 2023 and what happened there?
Sure.
From my understanding.
Yes, I will. So in 2018, Jake Haro with his ex-wife, there's another child who they were prosecuted for child abuse as well, child neglect, cruelty. That child was also an infant. And that came to the courts, arrested in 2018. It came in to the courts in 2023. We had charged various felony crimes, child abuse, child cruelty. And our indication or our what we wanted out of the case was prison. We believed it was a prison case and that Jake Haro should have gone to prison. Jake Haro pled straight up to the court, which sometimes reporters get this wrong and you call it a plea bargain. Judges are not allowed to plea bargain. Defendants can plea bargain with the prosecutor, but when a defendant pleads up to the court, they plead to everything that they've been charged with, and they're essentially throwing themselves on the mercy of the court. In this case, a judge here in Riverside County, happened to have been a visiting judge from San Bernardino County, gave Mr. Haro a suspended sentence, which means, if I can translate for you what that is, it means that instead of sending him to prison, he chose to give him probation and suspend prison time sort of over his head, meaning that if he violated his probation, he would then go to prison.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know, if he got sentenced in 2023, did he do all of his probation good time? You're supposed to, when you're released, conditional release, when he got no jail time. But I'm curious that, did this gun charge in 2024 run into that 2023 6-month or 180 day sentence? Even though he was out on work release or whatever the hell it was, he still was under the conditions of stay out of trouble, don't get in a new arrest. And in 2024, he gets arrested with a gun, a loaded gun with ammunition in the car. I'd like to see the timeline.
My prosecutor in the courtroom objected to that and said on the record, we object. We think it's a prison case. You should send him to prison. And the judge decided, as is the judge's right to do in that case, he decided that Mr. Haro deserved an extra break and gave him probation and basically 180 days of work release, which ends up being like community service. I will say that it was an outrageous error in judgment by this judge. And I don't have any problem saying that. I'm not attacking the judge personally. That decision was absolutely outrageous. Mr. Haro should have been in prison at the time that this crime happened. And if that judge had done his job as he should have done, Emmanuel would be alive today.
I wish one of the reporters, and there was many, many reporters in that room, I really wish one of the reporters right at this point had said to this district attorney, hey, what about the 2024 gun arrest with the loaded gun with the ammunition in his car? What about that? What happened with that case? But nobody did it. I wish that they were a little more prepared. And I think I know that most of those reporters knew about his arrest history because that was being reported early on in this case. Remember, everyone was talking about the 2018, horrific incident against his first child, 10 weeks old. And then in that same breath of air, they talked about that gun charge. I wish that someone would have brought that up.
And that's a shame, and it's an outrage. And I hate to say that, but when our criminal justice system breaks down, I'm going to just call it like it is and tell you it broke down. It's not how it's supposed to work. The judge had obviously.
But why was he out? Mo Preciado, great statement there. He was supposed to go to court on the 21st of this month for the gun charge. Why was he out? With his past history, why did he get arraigned on gun charges and get released? Answer me that. Riddle me that. Why in the world did the state of California, and I have to guess that it's Riverside County, the Riverside County District Attorney, because he doesn't seem like a traveling man. So it was either Riverside or San Bernardino. But why did not one of these two counties, wherever he was collared, say, no bail, put this asshole in? Look at what he did to his 10-month-old daughter, 10-week-old daughter. Put this fucker in. But they didn't. So they made mistakes 2 times. Not once, twice. 2 times the charm. You guys fucked up twice. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Sorry for cursing, but I'm not sorry. I'm pissed.
He meant well. At the end of their sentence, he told Jake, I'm giving you a big break today. Don't mess it up. But I want to point something out to you. I want to read to you the injuries. That the child's name is Carolina. She's still alive today, but she is permanently bedridden.
I believe the family members, I think a cousin, took her in and they renamed her Hope. And that's fitting, right? But Jake should be buried under the jail right now. He should be underneath the jail, and buckets should be fed to him down with rancid food. I mean, I know I'm being extreme right now, but that piece of shit deserves to be in a hole under the jail.
She has permanent damage, cerebral palsy, that is a result of long-term child abuse. I want to read to you the injuries that were presented in court to this judge at the time of that previous prosecution. Acute fracture of the posterior left rib, 5th rib, healing fractures of the posterior lateral 6th, 7th, and 10th through 12th ribs, healing fractures of the 6th and 9th through 12th ribs, partial bone fracture of the skull, brain hemorrhage, significant prevertebral soft tissue swelling of the neck, and a healing tibia fracture.
Yeah, I stand corrected. It's hope, promise, right? Promise, faith, promise, hope. Just this whole thing is just despicable. And the more you hear about it, the more angry you get.
Fracture of the right leg. This is severe abuse for an infant. And so whatever you think of the criminal justice system and people need a break, someone who does that to a child belongs in prison, period. Next question.
Can you tell us a little bit about her background? I think she has prior convictions or child abuse cases, Rebecca?
Not to my knowledge, no. Yes.
Looked at how Emmanuel's eyes are and said that is one of the signs of shaken baby syndrome. Do you believe that he has been responding the way he is in videos and does have the eye, I guess lazy eye for lack of a better word? Do you believe that he was shaken before and that's the reason?
You know, I'm not gonna, I can't speculate. I'll repeat what I already said. We believe that Emmanuel was severely abused over a period of time, and that that's the reason for the filing. the way it was, is that he was abused over a period of time. Both parents would have been aware of that abuse. I've already called on you, so I'm going to exhaust. Yes, sir.
Sir, forgive me. Amed Bioso on the DutyRon. I've been working this case diligently. I have a two-part question.
No, one question, sir. One question.
One question. Thank you. Since you said that you do know where the remains are, can you?
I didn't say that, sir.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
I didn't say I know where the remains are.
Can you tell us, in fact, a little bit more detail so that if you do know anything, so I can stop looking? Please? Because I'm here. I'm in.
You know, again, this is like my second or third time looking at this, and this DA, the way he laughed at Amed Bioso, I get how angry he got at this, because he was totally disrespected here, and he's put his heart and soul into searching for this boy. You know, he's made reference to that he was in jail or prison when his son was born, and a lot of personal things. And he actually, Amed Bioso, on his TikTok, somebody shared with me, he said, Emmanuel is like my son. He is my son. And he's put his heart and soul into searching for him. And I get why this was so devastating, and he felt it was so disrespectful. And all the people who support him feel like, you know, it was disrespectful. You know, again, looking at this a second and third time, just the way he laughed at him. He's standing amongst a whole room full of, as he said, my constituents. Amed Bioso is standing in a room of his constituents, and this guy's laughing at him. So that's kind of fucked up.
Yes, sir.
Sir, forgive me. Amed Bioso on the DutyRon. I've been working this case diligently. I have a two-part question.
No, one question, sir. One question.
One question. Thank you. Since you said that you do know where the remains are, can you?
I didn't say that, sir.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
I didn't say I know where the remains are.
Can you tell us, in fact, a little bit more detail so that if you do know anything, so I can stop looking? Please? Because I'm here, I'm in this every day. No disrespect, trust me, I understand who you are. But can you please, if you have information here where you know something, can you please, so I could get some rest?
Well, you should get some rest, sir.
Thank you.
You should get some rest. But no, I can't share with you anything.
That's fine.
Look, there are professionals that are looking for the remains of this child. If the public has any information, then we ask for their help. So we don't know exactly where the remains are. We have some ideas in terms of where we're going to look and where we're going to continue to investigate. Yes, sir, all the way in the back.
Can you please elaborate more on how you suspect that?
No, I'm not going to do that. That's unfortunately, I understand it's an obvious question, but I just can't go into it. Those are things that the evidence will be presented in court, and I'll have to wait till we do that. Who's next? Yes, sir.
Can you explain, I know they both have charges filed against them, but do you believe that Jake or Rebecca both were actively involved in abusing Emmanuel, or like was she just complicit in what he was doing, or the other way around? Can you explain any more of that?
All I can explain is what we have filed. We filed murder charges on both of them and making a false police report on both of them. So you can extrapolate that we believe that both of them are guilty, that we can prove it's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for both the murder and the filing of the false police report. You know, how it breaks down as to who did what, that also has to wait for the trial.
So the district attorney, obviously, he's right. He cannot give details of the crime because he has to lay that out in a court of law. So he's going to have to give his all of his discovery to Jake's defense attorney and Rebecca's defense attorney. So he can't lay it out at a press conference. So he basically explained that, and he did that respectfully.
So let me go.
There's been rumors that Emmanuel hadn't been seen for days or even weeks prior to August 14th. Can you speak to that at all?
No, unfortunately I can't. That has to wait for the trial to come out. Yes, sir.
Jacob Davidson, Routine News Network. Given the history that Jake has been obviously charged with previous child abuse cases, has CPS been involved with Emmanuel throughout his life at all, or have they ever checked up on the parents?
To my knowledge, CPS has not been involved with Emmanuel. I don't believe there was any CPS involvement in this current case. Let me go. I've already called on you. So have I called on you already? No, go ahead, please.
Jillian Smuckler with KTLA 5 News. We're hearing some reports of a confession made in jail regarding Jake Haro. Obviously, you're limited in what you can say, but is there any validity to some of those rumors? And what have you heard from Rebecca in jail?
Is there any validity to the rumors that Jake Haro confessed in jail? Is what the reporter asked. I have the closed caption up so you guys can read that. Here's his answer.
I can tell you that that's not true. It's there's no confession made in jail.
Can you tell us how many kids Jake and Rebecca had were in their home at the time of the arrest? We know a 2-year-old was taken. We saw CPS, Riverside Sheriff's Deputies making CPS calls. How many kids did they have in their home?
Well, there's the 2-year-old and then baby Emmanuel.
Maybe me.
Yeah. Going back there, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Joy Benedict, KCAL News. My question is, how difficult is it going to be to try this case without finding baby Emmanuel?
You know, a no-body homicide is always difficult, but obviously with an infant, we know that baby Emmanuel didn't, leave on his own or is not, didn't leave town. Obviously, it's a little different when you're talking about an infant, but we have a lot of experience trying no-body homicides, and we're confident that we can gain convictions.
And I want to say this too: the Kern County, Bakersfield district attorney in Bakersfield tried a no-body double homicide case of 2 children, Sincere and Classic, Orrin and Orson West. In Bakersfield, California, their adoptive parents murdered both of the boys, and their bodies were never recovered to this day. But they were able to try both the mom, the step monster, and the stepfather, Trezell and Jacqueline West, and get convictions with a no-body case. And it was it seemed like when they presented it in court, I was worried that they weren't going to get guilty verdicts, but they did. They got guilty verdicts, and it's not impossible.
In this case, yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us more about the search on Sunday? What led to that field and why that area?
Well, I think Sheriff Dyke has already explained that. I answered that question by saying there's been a level of cooperation with the defendants. So that's why they went to that area. But beyond that, that's all I can say. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think the obvious question is.
Okay, so everybody listen closely to this again. This is from the district attorney's office. This is from the Riverside County District Attorney's YouTube channel. Here's it asked again. And I don't know why some people feel like he's sidestepping. He's asked 2 different ways about a Perkins. They don't outright say Perkins, but she says a fake prisoner, an undercover police. That's what a Perkins operations is. That's what they do in California. And if they in fact did that, he would have said, it's part of the case. I can't discuss it, because they're going to present that in court. It's presentable in a court of law. But he didn't say that. He unequivocally said that is not true.
What happened then? I mean, we did hear those reports. My coworker just asked about the jail confession. Their authorities used a fake inmate to get information, and the father confessed.
That's a Perkins operation, using a fake inmate to get a confession. I don't know how much more clear that has to be asked for everybody. And there'll still be people. I love Brian Enton. I'm not bashing him. I'm just saying that the source that he got, or the source that the girl got, or whoever, I don't care what it is. I go by what the district attorney says. And he was asked straight up. And there is no reason for this person to lie about that. And it's clear and concise. I don't know how much clearer you got to hear it.
Well, I think Sheriff Dyke has already explained that. I answered that question by saying there's been a level of cooperation with the defendants. So That's why they went to that area. But beyond that, that's all I can say. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I think the obvious question is, what happened then? I mean, we did hear those reports. My coworker just asked about the jail confession. Their authorities used a fake inmate to get information, and the father confessed that he.
Well, see, that's not true. So I don't know where you. Well, no. See, this is what happens when you've got all these folks out there online and these keyboard warriors. You get a lot of misinformation, and what you just said is not true. It's misinformation. So that's what I'll tell you did not happen.
Whatever. I'm going to move on. You guys can do with this whatever you want. I mean, Lori G, I could see that you're just looking with tunnel vision at this. I looked at both sides of it, and I'm being reasonable. There's no deflection. There's nothing of any of the above. This is a clearly asked question and a clearly answered question. Plain and simple.
Okay, but you can't say what. There's no information as to.
I can't talk about the facts of the case. Well, no, I'm giving you information about Baby Emmanuel. I'm giving you information about the cases and the investigation, but what you just said did not happen. So, that's not, I can't be responsible for when you guys get it wrong. Go ahead.
I know you have not found the remains yet, but based on the level.
There's no information as to.
I can't talk about the facts of the case. Well, no, I'm giving you information about Baby Emmanuel. I'm giving you information about the cases and the investigation, but what you just said did not happen. So, that's not, I can't be responsible for when you guys get it wrong. Go ahead.
I know you have not found the remains yet, but based on the level of cooperation of the suspects and what you know so far, is the strong likelihood that remains were at least at one point in the Badlands General?
Yeah, I'm just not going to comment on that. We're looking for the remains, and these investigation is continuing. We're hoping to find the remains of.
I thought the guy was straightforward. He answered the questions. People could, have their opinions. Some people are saying here, KBD says, I think he's cocky. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. We're all entitled to our opinion. I thought he was professional. I've seen many district attorneys give, pressers. The only part I didn't like was when he laughed at Amed Bioso. I thought that he could have handled that a little differently. Some people are saying he's a little too slick. Look, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, and I respect everybody's opinion. So at the end of the day, it is what it is, and we want to see justice. We want to see justice for Baby Emmanuel, and it's up to these guys, not necessarily the district attorney, but it's up to these two sheriff's departments, the San Bernardino County Sheriff and the Riverside County Sheriff, to bring justice, bring these two monsters to a successful trial and get a guilty verdict. And mainly, too, to recover Emmanuel's remains if they're able to do it. Look, if the baby was dumped out in the middle of the wilderness, there's a chance that we'll never recover his remains, because wildlife, indigent wildlife, could have completely consumed this child, this infant, this 7-month-old baby. I hope and pray that that's not the case. I hope and pray that they can recover his bones, because that's what we'd be looking at a recovery at this stage, with the heat, with being out in the conditions. We would be looking at bones. There's no skin, there's no nothing left to this child. So recovering his remains is important, because A, to give him a proper burial, and B, to get some forensics to see if his skull was fractured or if there was broken bones. And that's what they would do with a forensic pathologist. So much love and respect from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We want to thank you for being here. We want to thank you for watching the replay. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments section. This is our opinions of what we were looking at that press conference yesterday. It took me a day to give it to you because of the school shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We felt it was not appropriate to go live last night about this. We wanted to bring this to you with our full attention, so we did it tonight. So on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I want to thank you for being here. We love and respect you all, and we do value your input. So let us know down below what your thoughts are as it pertains to this case. Good night from New York City. We'll see you soon. God bless.